We're going to look at one other team here that's really been making strides this season. We're going to switch conferences, this time going over to the Eastern Conference. And speaking of guys that have the ball in their hands a lot, Detroit has an individual by the name of Cade Cunningham that's been tearing up the league this season. Everybody knew he was a good player before this season, but I think this year, now that he has better pieces around him, better coaching, I think we're all kind of more aware of what he's capable of, and he's been able to demonstrate that even more this season at, crazy averages, 25, 6, and 9. Those are star numbers. And he is the number one option on a team that is rising through the Eastern Conference. Now they're in the top 6, which coming off of last season, just a monumental leap. They were dreadful last season. And we talked about them on this podcast about what they don't have, what they're lacking, their shortcomings. Looking at this version of the team, they patched so many of those holes so well. But of course, it starts with Cade. Looking at what he's been able to do on ball, assist percentage is at about 40% based on cleaning the glass. He's even more efficient. True shooting is up to 56%, a few percentage points higher than last season. He's redistributed his shots a little bit. He took a lot of long mids last season. He's redistributed a lot of those to the short mid this season, about 9% more from short mid, about 35% of his shots total. I think a big part of why he's done that is just the ability is there now with more spacing. It's not as clogged. He's able to get deeper into the paint there. Having guys like Malik Beasley on the team and more legitimate offensive threats like Tobias Harris is, I think, done wonders for his game. Last season it was, okay, Beef Stew is out there, Czar is out there, a lot of guys that just don't offer that kind of spacing. Ivy, I know he's been out for a while, but I think he was a little bit of the problem as well last season. Now it's like, hey, he can play his game. Like, he could just go out there and do what he does best, using his size, using his footwork, using all his great skills just to be a difference maker. And I think he's been awesome, but I want to give a lot of credit as well to Malik Beasley, a guy that they signed, coming in and shooting 41% on 9 attempts. That's a sharpshooter if I've ever seen one. 54% from the corner on threes. You can't leave him. 16 points a game. He's just been super efficient, and you could not have wished for a better season from a guy that's been known as a shooter. As good as he's been in his career, I think this is the pinnacle for him in terms of just lacing the nets, just getting hot and opening up more for those other guys on the team. So those are two of the names that I think of first when it comes to the Pistons. There's a lot of guys that have been great, but I think those two have really been some of the main catalysts in terms of getting this team to where they are today, which is massively improved from last season.
Yeah, I've seen the Pistons a couple times since the All-Star break, once in Detroit, and I watched James Harden put 50 on their heads, so there's that as well. But I think it's not complicated with Detroit. They got themselves a front office that put real NBA players on the floor next to Cade. It's really that simple. It turns out getting pros who are, they don't have to be stars, but getting guys like Malik Beasley, getting guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., getting guys like Tobias Harris, and having those guys in your rotation, yeah, that might matter compared to some of the guys that Cade was playing with last year, some of the lineups that Cade was playing. Killian Hayes played 1,000 minutes for Detroit before, I think before the All-Star break last year. And then, he went from a starter to being outright waived, because they were like, we're not going to let Monty Williams continue to play Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey was he was benched basically. I don't think anything's wrong with Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren, but playing those guys together as much as they did, yeah, it's a lot different when you can slide a guy like Tobias Harris in there. They just have guys that, JB Bickerstaff has done a great job of putting guys in position to succeed. JB's done this before. JB took over a Cleveland team that was just annually dysfunctional, and they went from the post LeBron wasteland in the East to eventually getting to the play-in tournament, eventually getting to the playoffs, and even getting to a spot where they could come back in a game 7 and win a game, even though everyone knew that that team, or at least the head coach, wasn't going to be a part of what their future was. So JB's been motivated. Like JB got fired from a team, even though he brought that team, as far as he brought them. That front office did not, they complimented the young talent that they had been accumulating, because a lot of those dudes are still there. Killian Hayes ain't there no more, but
Right.
Cade is that guy. And it was a matter of, one, get healthy. Two, after all those minutes where you're getting your ass kicked in these lineups, take something from that. And
Mhm.
Cade is punching back this year, and he's got a group of guys that he's able to punch back with. Cade is like, he Texas light skinned Luca in a lot of ways.
I can see it.
Like
Yeah.
Cade is a 6'6", incredibly ball dominant player. Like there's no other, there's a major drop off as far as like who the star of that team is after Cade. And Cade is people take for granted. This dude is 23 years old.
Yep. Just getting
23 years
started.
old. Look at where Grant Hill was when he was 23 years old for that same franchise. Okay. Grant Hill played his first playoff games with the Pistons at the same age that Cade is about to play his first playoff games with the Pistons. And Grant spent, a lot more time at Duke than Cade, Cunningham spent at Oklahoma State.
True.
And so I think that's really what it is. They everything that the Pistons have right now is playing with house money. I think they wanted to be competitive this year. I did not anticipate them being not only in the playoff race, but they might not even need to play in tournament. That is
Yeah.
that is a phenomenally triumphant sign of progress for everybody involved. The stars. Shout out to those vets and role players who came in. Shout out to those other young guys. Those guys are really good teammates.
Yep.
Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Beef Stew, even a guy like Marcus Sasser who doesn't get to play every game, but like, he's if that guy's your third point guard, great. Shout out to the front office for not being complacent and bringing a guy like Dennis Schroeder in, you know, because one of the biggest issues the Pistons had, even when they were starting to get better, Cade turns the ball over too much.
He
But now
does.
you got a guy in Dennis who can run your offense in a pinch, but also can play with Cade.
Right.
That's been good. Their team makes sense, and now they get to see what that looks like in a playoff setting, and they get to what that team just needs is their young players to continue to take steps, Cade included.
Absolutely, man. I want to key in on what you said about the house money. Like at this point, this team is just playing free, no pressure. I mean, they supposed to not supposed to be here by all accounts based on like where they were last season. So everybody's just enjoying the ride. Like you said, those younger guys are being great teammates, just playing their role as well as they can. And I got the chance to see Cade and the Pistons earlier on this season. I went to see them play Denver out in Denver around Christmas, and I was thoroughly impressed by just Cade's ability to just get what he wants, just be that driver of the team. And you talked about some of his shortcomings and turnovers. I mean, he does a lot, but he can't do everything. So getting Schroeder in there, getting a little more creation, I think that's something they really need. Is just another guy in the backcourt since Ivy is out to really just kind of like run the show and get things started for them. So no, 100% agree with your points there. And no, I'm excited to see what they can do in the playoffs. I think they're going to be a tough out, even if they are swept in the first round or gentleman's sweep. Like regardless of what the result is, like this is a great season for them, and they're going in the right direction. So now from here, it's just going to be really exciting to see what they can do.